Nostalgia and comfort go hand in hand, but some games can evoke that feeling of sentimentality even if you've never played them before. So if you're looking to soak up some retro vibes and maybe reminisce just a little, I have the perfect picks for you. Hello friends, Sarah Sunstone here, and welcome back to Cherry on Top. In today's episode, I'll be counting down 10 cozy games with retro vibes, featuring a mixture of upcoming titles and games you can play now if you're looking to experience some comforting nostalgia. If you love discovering new games, please shine that lovely like button to let me know, and make sure you're subscribed to my channel with your notifications on so you don't miss out on discovering your next favorite title. Otherwise, without any further ado, let's get right into it. Coming in at number 10 is Donchi Days, a story-driven, slice-of-life adventure where you'll reconnect with neighbors, surf the web, and play minigames. It also seems to offer a bittersweet narrative about a girl living with her grandma in a donchi, which is a Japanese mass apartment complex, home to many neighbors from all walks of life. Your main mission will be to revive the summer festival, but you'll also spend your days surfing the NeighborNet, where neighbors actually share their own websites, chatting with those neighbors out in the wild, and playing a bunch of fun minigames called sense games that elevate small, charming, or sometimes silly aspects of the world. Some minigame examples include bumping into trees to smell them, collecting beads of condensation from iced tea, and even listening to the sounds of neighbors' toilets. Now, not only is this game set in 2000s Japan, but the pixel art style also has that retro feel, reminiscent of some of those late 90s, early 2000s Game Boy titles. Also, the idea of browsing character-created websites on the internet is definitely giving MySpace or Pixo, which maybe will actually unlock memories for some of you. I had to look it up, but this was actually a platform that you could use to create your own website, which was such an iconic era. Plus, the original soundtrack also has that retro feel to it, which is inspired by the Game Boy Advance and Nintendo DS era, among many other pre-90s, 90s, and early 2000s references. Donchi Days is definitely hitting the mark when it comes to cute nostalgia, and it is releasing sometime in 2026 on Steam, with a playable demo available now if you'd like to give it a try. Next, at number 9 is Nook Fall West Town, an isometric hand-drawn visual novel featuring a mixture of shop management, exploration, and storytelling, which also happens to be today's sponsor. In this title, you play as an outsider who's new to town, but as you settle in, you'll gradually uncover the town's history that's been sealed away for the past 30 years. Your main responsibility is to run a charming little corner shop, serving and interacting with customers as they come and go, and prepare with the townsfolk for a grand festival. You'll also be free to explore the town's various districts at your own pace via the local tram, with many colorful locations to visit, from the cozy bookstore and cafe to the local record shop, bustling night market, and more. One of the big standouts for me with this title is that although it is a visual novel, it offers a lot of interactivity and thoughtful touches along the way, so it feels like you're really engaging with the story rather than passively reading it. Nook Fall West Town also hits the mark with retro vibes in many regards. For starters, the story is set in the 80s, in a town caught in a delicate balance between vibrant energy and nostalgic decay. I also absolutely adore the art for this title, which aims to recreate the feeling of turning the pages of vintage picture books and leans into a warm retro color palette. One of my favorite things is just browsing through the different shop items, inspired by some classic picks. In terms of gameplay, you can also hunt for vintage finds in the local shops, like playable records and placeable furniture items to personalize your home base. So again, not only does the game nail that nostalgic feel, there's also a lot more to the game than what first might meet the eye. Nook Fall West Town is out now for PC and Mac via Steam, with a 10% launch discount available for a limited time. And if you'd like to see some extended gameplay, I'll have my previous video linked in the description, along with other relevant information for your reference, so be sure to check it out. Thank you so much to G-Quartz Publishing for taking care of creators like me and very kindly sponsoring this portion of today's video. Then at number 8 is Cozy Game Restoration, a relaxing simulator where you gently bring forgotten video game cartridges back to life. You'll carefully unwrap sealed packages to uncover old, worn video games that might be covered in stickers, marker ink, dust, and the accumulation of time. Each one is flawed in its own unique way and procedurally dirtied. So for example, some some video game cartridges might have clean labels but cracked shells, while others could be scuffed, doodled on, or covered with sticky adhesive residue. Each element of dirt and damage will require different tools to effectively remove in a gameplay experience that is said to be slow, tactile, and satisfying. And you never know which games will arrive in your next shipment, but as you restore each one, you'll complete collection-based quests, like collect 3 puzzle games or 2 rare platformers, with other more unique quests tied to the in-game calendar, like have 4 sci-fi games on your shelf by November 7th. Upon the completion of each quest, you'll actually be rewarded with a cosmetic or decoration that can be used to personalize your collection room. So beyond the satisfying loop of restoration itself, there's also something to work towards as you build out your collection. At the same time, there's no timer or fail state, so you can really enjoy your time with this one. Now, if it isn't already obvious, the retro feel really comes into play for this title when we take a look at the game cartridges themselves, with 108 distinct titles inspired by video game classics from the 1980s to the early 2000s. Plus, while some finds will be common, others can be much rarer, so you'll also encounter regional variants of games, and even shells made of gold. I feel like this will be so fun to unpack the mystery boxes and see if you recognize the different Easter eggs and references for those nostalgic classic games. Cozy Game Restoration will be releasing for PC via Steam sometime in 2026, and is being built from the ground up with Steam Deck support included. Coming in at number 7 is Thrifty Business, a laid-back management simulation game where you get to run your very own thrift store. You'll search through mystery boxes of pre-loved items and use them to create personalized displays. And you'll have full control over the appearance and layout of your shop with unlockable furniture, decorations, wallpaper, and flooring to customize with. A really sweet touch is that your shop will even feature a community space where events can be hosted for the locals. And as your business succeeds, you can also further expand the size of your shop to fill it with more stuff. Now, I actually live streamed my first impressions of the demo, so I'll have that gameplay linked in the description for you to check out. But also, hey, come join the live streams and chat with me and our lovely community, which are every Tuesday and Friday with bonus member streams on the weekends. But based on my first impressions with Thrifty Business, one thing that I really appreciated is that you do have complete freedom over your shop. It can be as messy and eclectic or as organized as you'd like. You can also fulfill specific requests from your customers and unlock new hobbyist events to host. Plus, there are no time constraints on the management. Customers won't get angry and leave, so there's really no stress here, which sets it apart from other management style games, in my opinion. In terms of the retro feel, I mean, the store itself is a 90s inspired vintage thrift store, so we're off to a good start. This means that not only is the visual style of the game inspired by colorful 90s graphics, it's giving Lisa Frank, but you will also likely recognize many of the 500 plus possible items that you can add to your shelf, from Furbies and Slinkies to 90s inspired clothing, lava lamps, and more. I also wanted to mention that the game will have a saturation slider included as well in case you want to tone down the palette just a bit, which is awesome for accessibility. And there is a character creator, which was an unexpected but awesome addition. The gameplay loop for this one will definitely get you hooked, and you won't have to wait too long to play because Thrifty Business is releasing for PC and Mac via Steam on May 18th. But it is worth noting that the developer's previous games have also come to consoles, so let's hope the same will ultimately be said for this new game. Next at number 6 is Incombini, One Store, Many Stories, a relaxing slice-of-life game about running a small-town convenience store centered on human connection and everyday moments. In this title, you play as a college student spending her summer behind the counter, her days filled with simple, tactile actions like stocking shelves, tidying displays, and preparing the store for customers. Within this routine, you can take as long or as little time as you'd like to straighten out products, restock popular items, rearrange the displays, and move items just a little to the left. Over time, you'll also be introduced to other tasks like ordering goods, packing special orders, and searching for lost items, just as some examples. Now, much of the game does revolve around narrative-focused interactions, with branching dialogue and meaningful choices available to you as you learn about the lives, routines, and secrets of your regular customers. If you've ever worked a retail job at a small shop or a boutique kind of store, store, the game does a really good job at nailing the joys of that experience with its design, and I speak from experience. As an extra touch of fun, there's also a really awesome toy capsule machine with a bunch of coffee and tea-themed character collectibles. One thing that's really unique about this game as well is that so much of what you experience depends on what you choose to engage with. So for example, like, will you spot the tiny missing ring that needs to be returned to its owner? Will you call that mysterious number on a card next to the phone? It's all completely up to you based on what you notice in your surroundings and ultimately interact with. I'll have my first impressions of gameplay linked down below for you to see exactly what I mean. Now, the game is set in early 1990s Japan, and between its soft visuals, warm lighting, and inspired product lines, it definitely offers that retro feel. Other little details from the shop phone and cash register to the overall non-digital management practices of the store itself really take you back to those simpler times with so many mindful moments of presence. In Konbini One Store Many Stories is out now on Steam and all major consoles, with physical editions for PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch 2 releasing later this year on September 1st. Then at number 5 is Restory, a chill shop management simulator with a narrative focus featuring an in-depth device repair system. In this title, you run an electronics repair shop in Japan, where you'll be tasked with not only fixing broken devices, but also managing your finances and surfing the web for spare parts. However, the way you interact with each customer has the potential to change their lives forever, and it's up to you to decide what advice you might give or findings you might share from your repairs. For example, will you report on a suspicious number hidden in the casing of a broken phone? Will you help a love-struck student confess to his crush? You get to decide for yourself and see how these choices may impact the branching storyline, which on its own has a lot of potential for multiple playthroughs. While many of your orders will allow you to get to know your customers in person, there will also be online orders to take on and fulfill. Now, of course, the repair and cleaning process is a huge standout feature of the game, with multiple tools available to help you with each step of the process. And this is where the retro vibes come into play, because while running this mid-2000s Tokyo shop, you'll meticulously repair nostalgic Y2K era devices, including phones, cameras, music players, home appliances, iconic gaming handhelds, and consoles, even including officially licensed Atari systems. You'll need to carefully take each gadget apart, clean and replace faulty pieces, then assemble it all back together with care. Plus, as you surf the web for online orders and spare parts, you'll similarly get to experience that vibe through a browser that's been designed in keeping with the Y2K era. This is yet another game that I've been able to play myself through its ongoing Steam playtests, so if you'd like to see some more gameplay, please check the video description to learn more. Otherwise, Restory will be releasing sometime in 2026 for PC via Steam. Coming in at number 4 is Vivarium, a retro cell anime game about life inside a mysterious terrarium. So yeah, the entire game takes place inside a missing terrarium that's been lost and forgotten, but on the inside of the jar, secretly and quietly, the sun is rising on an entire little world that nobody knows exists, and it's filled with places that nobody's been to. As you explore, you can discover mysteries in a town of people nobody remembers. So it truly is a forgotten world. Although we don't have a ton of information about what type of a game this will be or what kind of gameplay it will involve, it looks like it could be an exploration and narrative-focused slice-of-life type title. We have seen some clips of the playable character interacting with the world using different tools, navigating colorful environments through a series of pathways and shortcuts, chatting with a series of interesting characters, and even repairing an old game console found in the trash. Apparently, the developers are creating totally original Game Boy games to find and actually play within Vivarium, a mechanic that is inspired by the original Animal Crossing game, with other retro games listed as inspirations for several elements of the game's design. However, the main hit of nostalgia, in my opinion, comes with the beautiful art style. The game is all being created with hand-drawn art by a TV animator, whose work in this game is inspired by American and Japanese animation of the 1970s, which just makes sense because from what we're seeing here, the art style is very reminiscent of classic Japanese anime. I love the idea of having a game with this retro visual appeal that also offers an enjoyable, comforting gameplay experience. I also really love the idea for the setting with an entire world existing inside a tiny terrarium. It just feels so whimsical. Unfortunately, we don't have a ton of practical details yet either about Vivarium, so this is one of those games that we'll just have to keep our eye on to learn more, but it looks like it has so much potential. It really nails those retro vibes, so fingers crossed we'll get a release date sooner rather than later. Next up at number 3 is Mixtape, a musical narrative game where on their last night together, 3 friends embark on one final adventure. En route to their final party to attend, a perfectly curated playlist draws these 3 friends into dreamlike reenactments of their formative memories. Throughout the story, you'll experience a variety of narrative vignettes, exploring pivotal moments that shaped them and their relationships. And this is woven together with joyful gameplay beats, from skateboarding and literally flying through the sky, to taking photos after hours at an abandoned theme park, hitting baseballs, and putting on your own fireworks show. It almost seems like a buffet of minigames and experiences. From the first kiss to the last dance, every step of the journey is designed as a mixtape of memories, drawing inspiration from classic coming-of-age movies. This seems like one of those unique games that's almost more of an experience that you just have to play to understand what it sets out to offer, but this title does really seem to hone in on those nostalgic feelings of reflecting on the high school experience and your teenage years, including the highs, the lows, and the bittersweet feelings brought forward through growth, transformation, and moving on. The game itself is set in the 90s and overall has that sort of aesthetic and vibe, but it also includes references from the 80s and a licensed soundtrack that spans from the 70s all the way to the 2000s. On top of this, it uses a stop-motion visual style, which gives it less of a modern feel. Plus, the setting itself is set to feature nostalgic locations like a blockbuster-like video store, a 7-Eleven-inspired corner store, and more. Mixtape is out now on PC via Steam, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and Nintendo Switch 2. Then at number 2 is Fields of Mistria, a nostalgic farming and life simulation RPG, which perhaps needs no introduction, but I certainly do recommend it. This game really has it all, including basically every feature you would expect to see in a game of this type, plus more. You've got character customization, home and farm decoration, activities like farming, fishing, mining, bug catching, and crafting. You can raise animals and breed rare color variants, unlock magical abilities that will aid your adventures and farming practices. You can battle enemies in the caverns, enjoy the changing seasons with new quests and festivals, plus find your ideal match with 12 beautiful marriage candidates in a town of over 30 villagers. This game has so much quality of life, it has wishlist features, and it has undergone a series of impressive content updates throughout its early access journey. Now, Fields of Mistria is ranked particularly high on today's list specifically, not only because it's a super impressive game, but also because it absolutely nails those retro nostalgic vibes. The game was designed as a spiritual successor to the farming simulation RPGs of the late 90s and onwards, which is quite apparent from the visual style of the game world and also the Sailor Moon-esque character portraits. You'll also experience those retro vibes through the game's original soundtrack, which similarly feels inspired by the past. Fields of Mistria has been out in early access since 2024, with plans to release sometime this year in 2026. And while this is merely speculation, I do believe that we might actually see a release date announcement in early June, during the week of Summer Game Fest showcases. I'm just hoping that if this is the case, it won't be a shadow drop, because I need to prepare to dive into 1.0, which I have been patiently awaiting. So far, the game is only confirmed for Steam with Steam Deck verification, but fingers crossed for future console versions as well, which the developers said they will evaluate post-launch. And finally, coming in at number 1 as the cherry on top of today's list is unpacking. Now, instead of telling you about what unpacking is, I'm going to share with you what I love about it and why it's earned the top spot on today's list, plus also a secret game mode that you might not be aware of in the case that you've already played it. That being said, just in case you have yet to hear of unpacking, I will quickly fill you in. So this game is all about the familiar experience of pulling your possessions out of boxes and fitting them into new homes. Mechanically, the game offers a mixture of block fitting puzzles, puzzles and home decoration elements, all intertwined with a subtle narrative that you experience based on the new homes you move into and which items the main character brings with them or leaves behind. And for a game that says so little, it makes you feel so much, and some of my most memorable moments in gaming have truly come from the most subtle narrative beats in Unpacking, where I realized so much about what was happening in this character's life through seemingly simple objects and their placements. Like, it is actually very surprising how hard things can hit you when on the surface level it doesn't seem like all too much is going on. And this game absolutely nails the retro vibes with its pixel art visual style and original soundtrack, but it drives that warm feeling all the way home with how you discover sentimental items as you unpack, organize, and decorate in a story that spans from 1997 all the way to the year 2018. I think this game offers the ultimate sense of nostalgia because of how it pairs the mindful, simple item discovery with a deeper, meaningful experience of moving through different physical spaces and chapters of one's life that I think many can relate to, which has earned the game its spot here on today's list. Unpacking is available on all major platforms, and if you've already completed the game, you can enjoy its secret game mode called Dark Star, which you can access simply by beginning a new save, just normally. However, when unpacking boxes, you must place every item in a wrong position. Once every item is placed incorrectly, they will all stop glowing, and you'll complete the level with a dark star rather than the usual golden star you would expect. It offers a new challenge, and it's definitely a fun reason to revisit the game, but just Unpacking on its own, I truly believe is a must-play title for any gamer. So if you haven't played it yet, what are you waiting for? Just go do it. Well, there you have it, friends. Those were 10 cozy games with retro vibes, featuring a mixture of upcoming titles and games you can play now if you're looking to experience some comforting nostalgia. Let me know down in the comments which of these games you already love, are looking forward to the most, or maybe have now added to your wish list to try. Anything and everything, you know I always love hearing from you. And with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. I love you all, and until next time, take care.